Hey, what's up YouTubers? And welcome back to another Toddy Walnuts video. Today is something a little bit different. I don't really talk about this subject on my channel very often. And it's something I'm not really the biggest collector of, but I did make a pretty big purchase over the past few weeks. And I wanted to go through and show you guys some of the comic books that I have. And these are mostly horror related. And you can see that the girls are joining me today. Hannah is deciding to clean her big wolf feet. And Miss Heidi is in the back. She's always getting ready to nod off. So this will be kind of a chill video. I'm just going to show you guys a couple of stacks of books that I picked up recently. We're going to go through and check out the covers. I'm going to talk a little bit about each of these editions that I picked up. And some of them are really cool. Most of them are limited. Some of them are signed, which is pretty cool. And then I pulled out a stack of books here in this pile that I owned already, and these are kind of horror themed. And I went through recently and I started doing some reboarding and bagging with better bags and better boards. And this pile here is going to be going to the grader. So I'm going to go through and show you guys, talk a little bit about that. So stay tuned and let's get into this. Okay, so just pulling from this first pile here, I made a big order recently and I ordered these two stacks right here. And it was a little pricey, but I feel like I got some very high quality, very rare books. Maybe some of you guys are collectors out there and you'll be able to appreciate this. And maybe some of you guys that don't really even care about comics or books at all will still get a little bit of enjoyment looking at the cover art and stuff like that. Maybe this will inspire you to maybe pick up a couple books. Like I said, I don't consider myself a book collector because I have enough vices already, things that I collect as far as movies and posters and figures and all that stuff, and that all adds up. So comic books is one thing I do not need to add to that. But I wanted to get some of these rare items before they were gone. And let's get into this first one here. This is the 2001 Maniacs Remake. And this was remade by Tim Sullivan, and it starred Robert Englund. And you can see here down in this little tombstone in the bottom right-hand corner, they're paying homage to Herschel Gordon Lewis, who was the first director of the original 2001 Maniacs, which was a very low-budget splatter flick. And it was a very fun movie. I think they both are. And the cool thing about this book is it came with a poster, and it was signed by Robert Englund. And I also put this in a Mylar sleeve, and I put a backing board in there just to kind of protect that. So you do get the signature from Robert Englund, and when you flip it over, it's also signed by the director, Tim Sullivan. And it came with a certificate of authenticity. And this was ultra rare. It was limited to 500 copies, and it says there that it was signed by the writer, Tim Sullivan, and the star, Robert Englund. So I was very glad to get that in the collection, and I actually picked up 2 of those. So I have 2 of the 500 that were issued. And this one also came with a poster. It was kind of stuck to the back of the other image, or the other comic there. So I do have 2 posters signed by Robert Englund and Tim Sullivan. So very happy to add that to the collection. I was also thinking about adding a new feature to this channel, and maybe if there's enough interest in this idea, I will go forward with it. But if you guys want me to read a comic on this channel, go through each panel and kind of just do like one comic a month or every couple weeks or something, I can put a poll and we can choose from 4 different comics. If you guys are interested, hit the thumbs up or comment below. The next one here is called Escape of the Living Dead, and that's signed by John Russo and Mike Wolfer. And John Russo is the guy who was the original writer of the first Night of the Living Dead with Georgie Romero. And this one was limited to 150 copies. And you can see there that was signed by writer John Russo and sequential adapter Mike Wolfer. So those two guys put this comic book together. Very, very limited, 150 copies. It has a very nice, I don't want to kind of skimp over this cover, but it has like a really nice kind of a metallic foil cover where you can see the blood pools are very reflective. And I'm kind of catching my flash on the Mylar bag here. Very, very nice. And it's another very rare piece. 150 were made of that. The next one is called Escape of the Living Dead, Airborne, issue number 1. And this one was limited to 100 copies. And it was the royal blue foil, which was the rarest. I believe they also had a red foil, which was limited to 1,000 or 1,500. And there was also a prism, I think, a prism foil. It was kind of like a rainbowy type image on the wings, where everything that's blue on here was like the alternate covers were red in that area, or prism. I think they may even had a gold cover, but this was the rarest of the covers. And I think I'm going to be sending these to be graded. This one here is ultra rare. This is Jason X with the blue foil. Anything that's blue foil in this pile is the most rare of the colors. And it was limited to 100 copies again. I'd be curious to hear if any of you guys have these, or if you have any alternate covers of these. Here's another one. That was, the other one was Jason X. This is Friday the 13th Bloodbath with the blue foil on the mask. These are very, very, very rare, very pricey. So I want to protect these and have them, I guess, encapsulated. That's the word I was looking for, so I can keep them pristine. They also did have just regular covers of this, and they were only like, $3 or $4 for just a regular cover. But once you start getting into the foil covers, that's where it got a little pricey. So this one's probably the rarest one that I have. And this is Friday the 13th. This was sanctioned by New Line Cinema from their House of Horror line. This was also limited to 100. I think that's probably my favorite cover too, although I do really like that one. Those are probably the two rarest that I got in this pile, other than the ones that are signed. Those are pretty rare too. The next one here is Friday the 13th Bloodbath, and they're calling this a leather cover, although it's technically not real leather. It's just kind of a faux leather, but these are very, very pricey, and these are in very good condition. I would think that these are probably a 9.6 or better using the CGC grading scale, and I do plan on sending a bunch of these to get graded. Only thing is, CGC is very backed up right now, and I think they're about 6 to 8 months backed up. So nobody really wants to mail in their comics and have them sit there for 8 months. So I'm going to wait till it kind of dies down a little bit, and then I'm going to submit a bunch of comics. And CGC just recently got purchased by another company, and they plan on expanding. So hopefully that'll be better things in the future for that company as far as the turnaround. But this one is called Friday the 13th Fear Book, and this is also pretty rare. I don't know what these were limited to, but these are very, very high quality. I would say 9.6 to 9.8. Here's another leather bound book, air quotes leather. It's like a, you know, a faux leather, but this is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Grind, and it's a really good cover. And I got a Texas Chainsaw Massacre Fear book. And those 4 leather covers that I just showed you were the only 4 leather covers that they produced for those 2 franchises. I believe they did have a couple for A Nightmare on Elm Street, and there may be a couple others for other franchises, but these were the only ones I picked up for this bundle here. I'm going to pause it and we'll go over the leather covers really quick as like a little recap, and we'll continue. Okay, so here again are the 4 leather covers, and this one is Fear Book. That one's a little bit harder to see. Even with my flash on, it's just not a very good design for a cover, I think. This one's a little bit better. With the, you know, the bright red with the black background. This is Bloodbath. And then these 2 look pretty good. That's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Grind, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre Fear Book. Okay, so we will move on. This next one here is called Plague of the Living Dead. This was written by John Russo. This was limited to 500 pieces, and it also did come with a signed poster by John Russo. And on the back is the certificate of authenticity, where it shows that it was limited to 500, packaged with a Plague of the Living Dead poster signed by John Russo. So I thought that was really cool. I was glad to pick that up. These next 2 are pretty awesome. I was really excited to see this. This is George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, Back from the Grave. I believe these were put out in 2014. The thing about this one, it's a red foil cover, but this one came with a poster signed by George A. Romero that says "Stay Scared," and this was pretty rare too, limited to 600 copies, packaged with a Night of the Living Dead promo poster signed by George A. Romero. And that is an actual real signature. Those are not, and none of these signatures are fake. These are all real, legit. And I ended up grabbing 2 of those because I really liked that. So here's the second one. Here's the second poster. So I have 2 of the 600. Very glad to have those. The next one is called George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, Hunger. And this one is limited to 500 copies, and it's packaged with a poster signed by George A. Romero, which is inside. I didn't pull it out yet. It also has kind of like this official sticker. George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, Hunger, Romero signed poster edition. And that's pretty rare. 500 copies. I picked up 2 of those. I'm glad to add those to the collection. And this one here I was really happy to pick up. This is a hardcover comic book or graphic novel, whatever you want to call it. This is Night of the Living Dead, Volume 1. Nice hardcover, nice glossy finish there. The zombie series fans have long demanded. And it was signed by John Russo, Mike Wolfer, and Jason Burrows. All on the inside here. So that's pretty cool. Not going to go through the whole thing in this video, but if you guys are interested in seeing me go through this, if there's enough comments down below, I'll do a separate video and go through some of these books. But I'm just going to kind of show you guys what I picked up in this video. Another thing that I was really excited about picking up, this is the original first pressing from 1985. This is called The Complete Night of the Living Dead film book by John Russo. This was a first pressing, first printing from 1985 with a preface by George A. Romero. And these both are signed by John Russo. They both come with a certificate of authenticity. These are limited to 1,000. And they're in really good condition. I'm going to pause it. We're going to open up this one. I already opened it once before, but I'm going to slide it out and we'll go through and I'll show you the signature and we'll go through the book a little bit. Then I'll show you just some of my other horror books that I just recently kind of rebagged and boarded. And then I'm going to go through this pile really quick and show you guys what I'm going to be sending off to get graded. So I did take the little bag off. And you can see that there's a little bit of wear and tear. But for the price that I paid for this, and comparing to some of the prices I've seen on secondary markets, I got a steal on this. I paid about a quarter of the price that these are going for on eBay right now, so I'm pretty happy about that. This is going to be the one that stays in my collection, and this is going to be the one that I look at and flip through. The other one that I have here is going to stay sealed. I don't know what I'm going to do with it at this time. I may, who knows, give it away, trade it, I don't know. But just wanted to grab two just to have them. There's the signature. All the way back from 1985. John Russo signed that in a black ink pen. There he was the co-author of the original Night of the Living Dead with George A. Romero. Oops, sorry about that. There you can see it's the copyright 1985. First printing June 1985. This is the real deal. It's not a reprint or a fugazi. This is the real deal. This book is dedicated to the energetic and talented cast and crew of Night of the Living Dead. So I'm not going to go through the whole book. I'll just kind of flip through a little bit here so you guys can see some of the actresses. They're coming to get you, Barbara. Very, very cool book. Very glad to have this, and I'm very glad to have it signed by John Russo. The only way that this would have been better is if I could have got a George A. Romero signed book. Those are quite pricey on secondary markets. I think there's a couple of them that are signed by Russo and Romero, so those are pretty pricey. But compared to even some of the books on eBay that are way more beat up than this one, I would say that this one is near mint, other than, you know, the fact that it has a little bit of fading at the top. On the back there's a little bit of discoloration. You know, you can see where the spine kind of cracked a little bit, but other than that, I mean, everything is completely white. All the pages and corners are crisp. There's no writing in the books. There's no torn pages. I'm very happy. I would say that this is a near mint copy, considering that it is from 1985. You know, it's almost 40 years old, so I'm going to pause it here for a moment. Just really quick, I'll show you the certificate. Night of the Living Dead film book. One of only 1,000 copies, signed by John Russo. So I'm going to put that back in plastic. I'll show you guys my pile, my little pile of horror stuff. Maybe you're interested in that. And I mean, there's a pile there I'm going to send to grading. So stick around. Okay, so I was going through some of the stuff I have in my basement. And I'm thinking about putting a pile together to send to Goodwill. And I have a box of comics, and they're either Batman and stuff like that, or they're some form of horror, like horror stuff. And I pulled out the ones that I'm going to keep. I ran out of bags. I still have a bunch of boards, so I would have did more tonight, but this is what I have for tonight. I'll show you the rest in a different video. If this gets enough views, I don't even know. If nobody watches this one, you'll never see the rest of these. I'll never bring up comics again if nobody watches this, but this is Dark Shadows. I think this is a comic book from the 1990s, though. This is not an original from the 60s. This is, I don't know anything about comics, really, so I don't know what innovation means. It's book 1, or book 2 right there, it says. I don't know what that 1 means right there. Maybe it's the first series, but it's book 2. I don't know. But that was in pretty good shape, so I went ahead and threw it in a Mylar bag. I don't think I'll grade that. I'm just going to keep that maybe as a reader. Next one is called Masters of Horror, and this is Dreams in the Witch House, which was based on a story by H.P. Lovecraft, and it was directed by Stuart Gordon. I do have that on DVD. Now I have some toe tag comics. These are George A. Romero books. I think I have all 4 of them. They may not be in order, but this is number 1. And these came out in December of 2004. Check out that cover. So that was book 1. Let's see if, well, actually there's more than, yeah, I don't have, it looks like it goes up to at least 6, but I don't have them in order, and I'm missing some actually. So here's number 3. An elephant just going through and destroying some zombies. I guess that's a cool way to do it, right? In a post-apocalyptic world of zombies. I don't remember ever seeing that in any movies. That'd be pretty cool to see somebody come riding through an infested city on elephant back, just mowing them down with a machine gun on the elephant's back and having the elephant just stomp them and squish them. That would be cool in a movie. Next one is number 6. These are not in order. That guy does not look too good. That guy looks even worse. Here's number 5. That guy looks like he's up to no good, like an evil mastermind. I have George A. Romero's Land of the Dead. This book was in really, really good condition. It's, I would say this is just about mint. There's a couple of little marks right here where the staple is, though, that would prevent it from being mint. But other than that, it has razor sharp corners. It has really good color. The color did not fade. There's no scratches or dents, but that little white mark on the side would prevent it from being a mint copy. Here is Reanimator. Love that cover. This one has a couple issues though too. Everything is pretty good on this book. There's a little bit of fading up here by the staple, and there's, I don't know if you guys can see right there where my finger was, that there's a little bit of a dent. So those 2 things may prevent it from not even being near mint, but this is just going to be a reader copy. I'm not going to send it in to get graded. Here is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from the remake. This is issue number 2. Again, this is not in, it's not in bad shape, but it's definitely not mint. There's a couple little issues, but this is a reader. And I have Dawn of the Dead, which this one is in very, very good condition. Again, it has a little bit of whitening by the staple right there. I think that's to do with if you stack comic books laying flat on top of each other, which is a no-no. I think over time all the weight kind of pushes into that staple, and then it creates like a kind of a weak spot in the cover. So you're supposed to stack these standing up and down in short boxes or long boxes, but I guess you live and learn. So this pile here are books. Oh, I'm going to pause it really quick. Okay, so these are books that I purchased about 10 years ago. There's a company called Zone Productions, and when they went out of business, they were selling a lot of their stuff at wholesale prices, and they were selling like bundles of these books. I think they were selling like 25 a piece for like $100, which is, you know, like $4 a book. So I bought a bunch of them that way. And these are called the Psycho Killers. Mature readers, these are based on the these guys. I'm not going to say the word because you can get flagged for saying that word on YouTube. But these guys are bad guys. We'll call them bad guys. So I went through and I picked out the ones that I thought would be near mint to mint, and I'm going to send this whole pile in to get graded at some point. But I do have a bunch of the Dahmer ones, and these are all, like I said, these are all in really good shape. These are at least near mint. Then I have a bunch of the Ed Gein ones. I think I have maybe, I don't know, 10, 12 of them. So I just want to be gentle with these. Then I had a couple of the Charles Starkweather. And these were all in really good condition. Literally, I think I have 2 of them. I do have a lot more, but these are the ones that are grade worthy. The other ones were maybe, I don't know, 8. And I don't want to send in 8s because they're pretty pricey when you get these graded. I want anything that's maybe 9.2 or 9.5 or better. So this is why I picked what I picked here. But here's Albert Fish. If you guys don't know who Albert Fish is, look him up. He was one sick effer. And there's about 5 of those that I'm going to send in. And then I had a pretty decent stack here of the Charles Manson books here. And there's probably, I don't know, 12 to 15 of them. So these are all going to get sent in eventually when CGC doesn't have such a big back order of books that they're grading right now, because I don't want to send books in and have them sit for 8 months. I'd rather just keep them here in my house for that long. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's something a little bit different for the channel. Oh, I had one more I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to show you my oldest comic book. And that is a 1967 Amazing Spider-Man number 4. This is called the King Size Special. And that is the Web and the Flame, Spidey and the Torch. Back when comics were 25 cents a piece. And this is an actual copy of that book. It's not a reprint. Only thing is, this book is in not the greatest shape. But, you know, going back to 1967 and having a comic that old, I think on eBay, one that's graded a 6, which is, you know, not very good. 10 is the best you can get. So one that's graded 6, it's going for a couple $100. But I think in this condition that I have, it's probably like a $30 to a $40 book from what I judge it to be. So to me, I don't even think it's worthy of sending in to get graded. But it's a cool relic, and I love Spider-Man, so this is the oldest comic I have. Just wanted to share that with you guys. So I'm going to end the video here, but for Miss Hannah and Miss Heidi, I am Toddy Walnuts. I appreciate you guys coming to check me out. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. That really does help. It helps to get my videos viewed more. The more thumbs up and the more views and the more comments it gets, the more YouTube will share my video with people who don't know who I am, and maybe they'll consider subscribing. So all that helps me out. If you guys are interested in seeing my channel grow, maybe consider doing that for me. But you guys have a great time, great night, great day, whatever time it is you're watching this. And just know that I always do appreciate you guys stopping by. Take care, and I'll see you next time.